paranormal. It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I'm Dan Terry, your ghost host with the most haunted here on the UNX Network. And if you're not a member, shame on you. You should be, because we got so much stuff coming up. Hope you're enjoying spring. Spring's here. I know a lot of my ghost hunting friends are out doing new adventures, which we'll be reporting on soon enough. But I've got a guest tonight. Once again, we are stretching across the country all the way over to Oregon. Dawn Colclasure is a Oregon-based author. And let me tell you guys, she has got a huge amount of work, a lot of poetry, a lot of true stories. She does a lot of fiction about ghosts, but she also does a lot of true ghost stories. Totally Scared is one of her books. It's the complete book on haunted houses, my favorite topic. She does one called Terror in the Night, Alien Abduction Exposed. So she knows a little about everything we do here. And A Ghost on Every Corner, the third book, the one I want to talk to her about. So why listen to me? Let's bring up Dawn Colclasure. Hi, Dawn.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, Dawn, I've been looking at what you write. It is an amazing amount of work. Your poetry, your true stories, your fiction, teen fiction about ghosts. How is it you are so interested in this topic?
Oh, thank you so much for checking out my work. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, you do a great job.
I've just been interested in so many different kinds of fiction writing, but mostly in the paranormal, because that has had a huge influence in my life. I've been exposed to paranormal activity since childhood. And so it's just something that's always on my mind. And when I'm able to write the ghost stories or write articles on the paranormal topics, it's just something that I'm putting out there if I get the chance.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, and I got to ask this because even though I'm now in the North Carolina mountains, my home area is St. Louis, and you had a ghost story out of St. Louis when you were a child. Can we hear that one?
Ghost from St. Louis.
Oh, wow. Well, interestingly, I can remember some of those things that happened. You know, that's not something that you forget. Well, when I first saw a ghost as a child, I didn't really understand what I was seeing. I didn't know what that was. I just knew that it was something strange. At first, I thought it was just maybe my imagination. But I kept seeing things. And when we were living in that house in St. Louis, the house on Christopher Drive, it was kind of scary because we had doors opening and closing all by themselves. We had kitchen faucets coming on by themselves, and we had a picture on the wall that would just fly onto the floor sometimes. And I also saw one ghost in particular. I called her the Lady in Black, and she was a woman wearing grieving clothes. She had the black shawl over her head and a black dress. That's why I called her the Lady in Black. But I saw her many times, and I was afraid of her, but she didn't seem to harm me. And my sister would see ghosts in the bathroom mirror. She'd be in the bathroom brushing her teeth or something. All of a sudden, she'd look in another direction. There was a ghost behind her. It was really scary to live in that house.
I'll bet. But is that what geared you to your enjoyment of the paranormal?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, I didn't know it was paranormal at the time, but it definitely sparked my interest, and I wanted to learn what these things were that I was seeing. I didn't understand them, so I wanted to learn what they were. And so I just started reading about it here and there as I grow older.
Okay. And then you wrote a book. I'm going to jump on this real quick, mainly because my producer's really into UFOs. You wrote Terror in the Night, Alien Abduction Exposed. What is the content of that one? What's that about?
Okay, one of the co-authors on that book, Mother Jet, she worked with me on the original Haunted Houses book, and she wanted to take on this next project called Terror in the Night. And she explained that it was basically a book about alien abductions.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't familiar with the topic at the time, but I was interested in it. So I did some research about the topic, and I said, okay, yes, I'm in, I'll do it. And so we worked together on that book, and it was very intriguing reading all of these stories about abductions and also about the topic of alien abductions themselves.
Okay.
And that pretty much got me on the path to learning about everything regarding the UFO phenomena.
Are you planning any more books about the UFO phenomena?
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually currently at work on a book about UFOs. Right now, the book is it's a joint effort between me and Martha, and it's basically about the alien agenda. Right now, it's in the writing and research stage, but I'm hoping to get the book out there at some point, and I'm going to be sending what I have to Martha very soon, and we're going to work together to get that book.
Okay, can you give us like a little foreshadowing of the topic, what the book's really going to be hitting on?
Well, let me just say I have come across some very interesting information in my research. It explores a lot of topics about not just about the alien agenda per se, but mostly about the history aliens have played in contact with human contact, and the role that they had in the past about certain things that happened, and also about how they have been portrayed in different forms of literature. I also discussed some of the major cases of sightings and abductions related
Okay.
to the alien phenomena.
Are you specifically looking at Roswell or the Rendlesham Forest incident? Betty and Barney Hill?
Roswell is definitely discussed in this book. I did extensive research on Roswell, and I've covered it extensively in the book, and I've learned new information about it, so that will be in the book as well.
Okay. Outstanding. I'm looking forward to that one. Just let us know when it's coming back out. Totally Scared, the complete book on haunted houses. We got to have a couple of stories from you.
Is it okay for me to share some of my own stories?
Yes, please. All the better.
Okay. I don't feel right sharing other people's stories. So.
Okay.
Well, one of the stories in the book is actually taking place in this house that I'm living in now. When we checked out the house before we moved in, I heard some kind of children's laughter coming from somewhere inside of the house. But I thought, okay, well, nothing wrong with that, then maybe the house is okay to move into.
Right.
And so we moved in, and it turned out there were ghost children in this house. But the problem is, the ghost children were having problems with another ghost that was in this house, and the ghost was much older, an older male ghost, and they were basically hoping that I would help them to fight off this male ghost. Apparently, it was a bad guy. And there was one morning I was awakened, and that male ghost was standing right in front of me with one of the children, with one ghost children, and he told me I'm taking the kid with me, and all of a sudden they vanished, and I didn't know what happened, but I reached out to them. I tried to reach out in some way. I started seeing handprints on the mirror in my bathroom, and it was I was unsure exactly of how to help them. But I remember back in the day when I had problems with ghosts, my parents would tell me to just pray. So I tried that. I prayed for them. I prayed they would be okay and that they would get help and basically rescued from whoever it was.
Right.
And I just left it at that. I don't know if it worked, but I'm hoping that everything was okay. There were no problems after that. So
You have not heard the kids laughing or seen prints since then?
I did see handprints for a while after that, but then it just stopped.
Mm-hmm. I'll be darned. Maybe your prayer helped. Maybe the ghost moved on.
That's possible, yes.
Okay. Well, that's your story. Is there more of your stories in that book?
There's one. It happened at another house. It was actually a very scary incident, and what happened was I was separated from my husband at the time, and my daughter and I, when my son moved into that house, and I started seeing this ghostly figure walking around the house. I didn't know who this was, and at one point I saw them walking outside, and it freaked me out because I thought there was someone outside, but I ran out there and there was nobody there, and the thing started to be moved around in the house. I didn't understand what was going on. I thought we had intruders. I was bolting up the door, putting locks on the windows and everything. But then it turned out that it was a ghost of that house doing that sort of thing. And I think it was trying to scare me away. Mm-hmm. And we had some people showing up at that house saying that they left something there and that they wanted to look for it. But we told them, take it up with the landlord. We can't let you in the house right now.
Yeah.
So I guess they took it up with the landlord. I worked it out with them. But that ghost was there for a while. And so I had to reach out to another ghost that I knew personally. There was a ghost that came to me through my dreams. And I reached out to him for help with this particular ghost. And I guess he took care of him because after a while, this ghost didn't bother me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
What do you believe that might have been a guardian angel then?
Yes, I do.
Okay. That is a neat story. So you asked for help and help came in, I guess, and helped you. So, anything else from that book that you can share? If you don't want to give names, but just some of the basic stories you've got in there.
Oh, well, there are just assorted incidents that have happened here at this house in particular. Mm-hmm. when we moved here, my youngest was 3 years old. And there was one day that he was jumping on my bed, and he just jumped off at one point, and something just caught him and made out and lowered him gently to the floor. And that was a really bizarre experience. But I think there are good ghosts in this house, and I've been told that there was actually a portal here, though we haven't found it. We have tried looking for it, but we haven't found it yet. And I've seen ghostly images of our dogs that we've had in the past walking around the house, and we've heard footsteps in the hallway and also scratching on the walls. So, and it's been a very interesting experience living in this house. I mean, I might even end up writing a whole book about this.
You probably should. How long have you lived there?
We've lived here about 12 years.
Okay. So in 12 years, you've seen your own pets come back from the dead and as spirits, and something, would you say, helped your son? Was he in danger of falling off the side of the bed?
Oh. Yes, there's been an incident when I went to my grandfather as a ghost in this house, but I didn't see him with my eyes. He was in a picture that I took. One of my kids left their stuffed animals on the couch, and I thought it was cute, so I just took a picture. But when I looked at the picture in the background near the hallway, I saw the ghost of my grandfather standing there, and I thought it was really interesting. But when I looked at the picture again recently, his image wasn't there anymore.
I have heard that a lot lately, of people getting a picture of a spirit that disappears from the picture. Why do you think that is? I have no idea.
Oh, that happened? I didn't know that could happen.
I have heard that from several people now. Yeah. So maybe how do I say
really
that?
have no idea why that happened. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought if you saw a ghost in a picture, it's always going to be there.
You would think. So maybe he was there. Was there a stressor in your life that he was there to let you know, I'm here for you, and then his job was done?
Oh, what? From what? Well, my kids and I have been concerned about the ghostly activity in this house, and we were a little frightened by it, especially by that adult male ghost that we saw.
Yeah.
They weren't actually bothering us or hurting us, but we were a little frightened by them. We just wanted to make sure that we were protected, that nothing bad would happen to us. My oldest smudged the house once, and my youngest, he has spread salt in certain areas of the house. I've also drawn crosses on doors. And, I made it very clear that we're not going to tolerate any abuse from this ghost or anything. The problem was at the very beginning when we were living in this house, one of the ghosts kept shaking my bed while I was sleeping. And it was very frustrating. I was trying to sleep and I would get mad because, I couldn't get a decent night's sleep. They were constantly shaking me. And at one point I just sat and I screamed, "Stop shaking my bed!" And so then I had this dream where someone broke into the house and busted into a case that I have in my bedroom where I have certain decorative knives. And they use the knives against my family. So I realized, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have those knives visible where anybody could see them. So I just gathered them all together. I got rid of them, but I kept two of them because I like the new classics. But then after I did that, there was no more shaking of my bed.
Is it possible something was attached to one of those blades?
Actually, oh wow. I didn't consider that possibility, but it is certainly possible. Some of the knives that I had in my collection were really, really old knives. That's part of the reason why I collected them.
Mm-hmm.
So after I got rid of them and the activity stopped, yeah, it is possible one of them was attached to it.
Wow. That's wild. But it seems like you get a warning either by a dream or something before there's a problem. Would that be accurate?
I'm not entirely sure. I have had dreams like that, but I don't know if I can call them morning dreams. I've had dreams about earthquakes happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had dreams where someone who I trusted actually betrayed me. All I could say is that I did exercise caution, but I'm not entirely sure if it was the caution, from the dream that prevented something bad from happening. The
Okay.
earthquake did happen though, but I don't know if it was because of the dream that I had. But
Okay.
when the earthquake happened, I was in a public place, and my father was there to protect me.
So your father and your grandfather have been there when you needed them.
Yes, absolutely. And my father passed away 9 years ago, and he has occasionally appeared in my dreams. He's usually offering advice or something, or pointing out if something is broken and needs to be repaired. So that's been a real blessing. It's been nice to have him in my dreams there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about A Ghost on Every Corner. Is that one of your newer books?
Okay. So I've written a middle grade paranormal mystery series called The Ghost Group, and
Mhm.
while I was writing the story, I thought, well, wow, there's some really haunted cities out there, because I did a lot of research. If I wanted everything to be accurate with what cases that happened in those books,
Mhm.
I needed to know about other paranormal activities and cases going on in other haunted cities. So while I was doing research for that, I got the idea to write A Ghost on Every Corner. And what I wanted to do was basically have the paranormal investigators tell their stories,
Mhm.
because they were on the scene and they saw the action. So it was basically a chance for them to share some of their most prominent cases for the book.
Okay. Have you done any ghost hunting yourself?
Oh, when I was a kid.
Okay.
That's basically what inspired the Ghost Group, because when I was a kid, and as you know, I was interested in the paranormal, my siblings got in on that as well. And we decided to start investigating ghost cases. So we tried to do cases around town. But my parents said, you can't do that because of legal problems. They said the police will get mad at you.
Yeah,
I
I don't
didn't
think
realize
so.
at the time. I didn't realize at the time there were things like trespassing or signing agreements with the tenant. So But that was the only time I've done investigations. I would love to do them today, but I don't know how that would work as a deaf person. But I would love to find out.
Well, I'm curious, and I'm wondering if that particular situation might help you, not being distracted by traffic or talking or other sounds.
That's interesting. It's been a very unusual experience for me as far as ghosts are concerned. I told you before that I could hear children's laughter when I came to this house.
Yes.
I don't hear the noises. It's like it's almost like it's an oral thing. It's like it's in my head. I can hear the sounds, but I don't hear them with my ears. It's almost like telepathic communication, and I have had that happen a lot. Actually, they communicate with me through my mind, and I do talk to them with my mouth. I use my voice, but they just basically get through to me in their own way, and I'm still able to pick up on sounds from them. It might work during investigation. I don't know. I would love to give it a try and find out. I am a little sensitive to those noises, and of course, I can see ghosts, so that might work. Yes,
I could see this as a boon, a really good thing for a ghost hunting group to have someone like you on it. I've had sensitives on my team, but I also would be concerned of dangers. What do you think on that?
dangerous. Bring it on. I've read about certain cases where there have been dangers where paranormal investigators were actually scratched or pushed, but I'm not concerned about that so much.
What would you consider if it caused you to hear loud screams or something really frightening that nobody else was hearing?
Well, of course, I would share this with information with the other investigators. There's always a chance that I might be asked to keep things secret, but I don't think that would be a good idea.
No. No, not at all. So, Ghost on Every Corner, what other stories do you have you can share from that one?
I really enjoyed reading the story that Mike Loop shared about the Queen Mary. And my own sister, she also has a ghost story from the Queen Mary.
Wow.
And that story is actually in the True Ghost Stories book. So the thing about these stories, though, is that they both had different ghostly experiences there. They had different encounters. With Mike, he had an encounter with a young girl on the Queen Mary. And with my sister, it was someone who had worked on the Queen Mary at one point in time. So I really think that this just adds more to the whole paranormal experience surrounding the Queen Mary. And I would love to know if there are other stories about the Queen Mary.
Oh, there are a lot of stories that's come out about the Queen Mary. That's why I was hoping to hear more from yours.
Oh, I've never visited the Queen Mary myself.
Mm-hmm. How about your sister? What kind of person was she dealing with?
Okay, well, with my sister, she and her partner had this room on the Queen Mary, and whenever they were in the room, they would hear this voice of someone outside of their door, a man talking, and they would mention a certain key. They were looking for this key apparently,
Mm-hmm.
but my sister and her partner, they looked at each other like, what? When they went out were in the hallway, they didn't see anything about keys or anything like that. So they decided, okay, well, we'll just keep an eye out for it if we happen to see it. And so they went around the ship and they started taking a whole bunch of pictures, and there were a lot of orbs in those pictures.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. All right. Let's change the topic here just a little bit and tell us about the fiction book series you're writing about ghosts.
The fiction series. Oh yes. Well, as I mentioned, the Ghost Group, that's basically inspired from my own childhood dream of having a paranormal investigation group. I wasn't able to do it in real life, but I can do it in fiction. So a lot of the stories in the book are based on actual hauntings and haunted cities. And one of the characters is a sensitive. She's able to see ghosts that her friends cannot see. And she's not really sure what's going on here. She doesn't understand why she can see things they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So she's learning more about that throughout the series. And she learns eventually that there are other kids out there who can see ghosts too. And it's basically about, understanding there are psychic kids in the world who can see ghosts, communicate with ghosts, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And if I understand right, you have a third edition of that book coming out.
Actually, it's a second edition. The Haunted Houses book I've been working on that. I am updating it and expanding on it. I'm adding new cases,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm always coming across new information to add to the book. And people keep reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I have this story about a haunted house. Can you put it in your book?"
Uh-huh.
So it's a great opportunity to add more stories to this book and make it more enjoyable, more up to date.
Are you going to add any of your stories to this book?
I definitely do a lot of research about the stories. Am I? Yes, I do have a lot of stories that are in this book as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my own personal stories, some of the stories that I've just shared here will be in that book as well.
Okay. Any more stories you want to share with these folks? I think my audience is really into this.
I have a very interesting story of a ghost encounter one time. I was working as as a caregiver for someone who was recovering from surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was in that house, I kept seeing the shadowy figure out of the corner of my eye. And at first I thought, no, it's not anything, but I kept seeing this thing. And at one point I saw it as the shape of a body. And I thought, okay, there's definitely a ghost here. But I would ask other people, did you see that? But they would say, no, it's just a dog. And I was like, that's not the dog. So at one point when I was there late at night, I was pretty much staying awake in case I was needed by the person I was taking care of. And so I was sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden this image materialized in front of me. And it's hard to explain how it happened. It's like there were flashes or something. There were lights, and then it took shape as a woman, but it was a ghostly woman. And I realized this was the ghost that was in the house.
Okay.
So I took this opportunity to try to communicate with the ghost. And I explained there were other people living here, and this wasn't their home anymore. And they had to cross over to the other side. Basically, I said, there are other people waiting for you. Your loved ones are waiting for you. And I think it's time for you to go. And there are people who are living in this house, and you can't disturb them. And then it disappeared. And ever since that time, I haven't seen the ghost at that house. So I'm hoping that ghost did cross over.
And again, I think you need to see about joining up with a ghost hunting group. You seem to have some skills that most of us don't.
That's a good point. I'm definitely open to the possibility of joining a group. Mm-hmm. I'm not aware of many locally, but I can look into it, and I would love to give it a try.
I think you need to look into it. I'm sure there's teams in your area. Where are you from over there in Oregon?
Oh, I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Eugene. That's a fair-sized city. There should be some ghost hunting groups there that would love to have you on the team.
I hope so. I would love to be part of a group. And who knows, it might even inspire another book.
Yes. Ghost hunting inspired them out of me. I wrote several of them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So let's talk about your books of poetry. Is that your work, original work?
Okay, so I don't just write about the paranormal.
Yeah.
I do write ghost stories though, but yes, I write poetry. I write all kinds of poetry. I'm actually exploring different types of poetry. Normally I would write traditional verse. I'm writing free verse, and I write poems basically about a variety of topics. Sometimes I write about the paranormal in my poems, but not too often. Basically the poems about life or about experiences. Sometimes they're things that are inspiring me to write them. Mm-hmm. And when I started publishing poetry books, I wanted to do themes. So I did start with an indie publisher, but then they decided not to take poetry books anymore. So I self-published my poetry books for a while. Now I'm trying to get back with a publisher for my poetry books.
What have you done besides the true paranormal, the fiction, and the poetry? I've seen several on there.
I'm also writing on short stories. I write a lot of horror short stories, and I write those short stories. I'm also writing a novel at this time. One is a folk horror novel, and I'm also writing another novel.
Mhm. Can you tell us what those are going to be about?
The folk horror novel is actually based on a true story. When I read about this story on the internet, I started asking myself, what would happen if this took place? And I just ran with it from there, and it turned into a folk horror story. And the other novel was actually based on a conversation that I had with my friend. My friend got a cancer diagnosis and was told there was nothing that could help him. So my friend was planning to commit suicide, but he wanted to do a few things before then. And I was so torn apart by this that, but at the same time, I I realized, there's a story there.
Yeah.
But fortunately for my friend, he saw another doctor, and the doctor said, "Hey, that diagnosis is not correct. You don't have cancer." And actually, what happened was my friend had something that was curable. And so he totally did the whole effort to end his life. And now he's just doing everything with his life.
Sure.
So, but sometimes things inspire stories, and I decided to write novels. Just kind of that.
Will your novel have a happy ending like that it turns out he's okay?
So it depends on my muse.
Good point. Good point. Getting back to the true ghost stories, do you have another story in there or one you can share with the people?
Okay, yes, I actually do. With the True Ghost Stories book, I actually decided to write that book, get that book put together because there were so many ghost stories to tell, and I knew a lot of people who also had true ghost stories to tell. So I thought, hey, let's just put it into a book. And one of my stories in that book is actually something that took place at work. I used to work as a direct support professional, and at one of the residences that I worked at, supporting an individual, um, he moved there sometime after someone had died at that home. And what happened was, while I was there, I kept seeing this ghostly figure of a man walking around the house. And I didn't want to share this information with my coworkers, because I thought, well, they'll think I'm crazy or something. But then I decided to actually share with one coworker, and he was very quiet for a while. And then he said, it's interesting you mentioned that because sometime after this person died, we kept hearing knocking on the doors and on the walls, and we heard strange sounds in the house. We didn't know what it was. So later on, after I told this coworker about what had happened, these people showed up at the residence and said, well, okay, this person has some belongings here and we've come to get them. And so I worked with another one of my coworkers, and we just packed up all of his belongings, got them out of the house. Mm-hmm. And then after that happened, there was one time I saw that ghost, but then after that, no more. I think he was just saying goodbye or something.
Mm-hmm. Dawn, what I've been hearing for the last 45 minutes or so is that you have a ability to see and understand ghosts that most of us ghost hunters don't have. I really got to push you towards joining a ghost hunting group.
I think that would be a good idea. I don't know why I see ghosts that other people can't, but there it is. But I see different kinds of ghosts. I see spectral figures. I see shadow ghosts, and sometimes it's just, like cloudy figure or something that's in the house. So it's really interesting.
Over the years, I've had several groups, several individuals that can see ghosts everywhere. Tell me your opinion. Is this a gift or is this a curse?
I think it's a gift because, in addition to seeing ghosts, I'm able to communicate with them in some way. And I think that is helpful in being able to work with them, help them solve their problems, figure out why they're here. And in some cases, they just need to be told, basically, that they're not alive anymore and that it's time for them to move on. So I do think it's a gift.
Have you seen anything aside from that male figure that's really frightening? Something that would scare you?
Nothing scary, no.
Wow. Okay. Okay. One good friend of mine was actually chased out of a Walmart by a spirit nobody else could see, but it was screaming at him and chasing after him. That always struck me as something of a curse. I know I wouldn't sleep well at night.
Well, yes, I have heard of it. Certain ghosts can be scary. They can be negative. They can frighten people and chase them around. I have heard of that, yes.
Okay. Well, in the
This
last
day, oh, I'm sorry.
no,
This
no,
day, I
please.
think it would help to. I think it would help to communicate with them and see what's wrong. And well, while some ghosts are just really angry or negative towards people, I think communication would help to figure out what's going on, why they're so angry, or
Sure.
what the problem is.
I understand that. In the last couple 3 minutes we have here, Dawn, how can people get hold of your books?
They can buy them on my website, or they can get them through Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Okay. And what is your website, Dawn?
My website is http www.dawnsbooks.com.
Okay. Well, this has been a really interesting conversation because, again, you seem to have an ability to speak with ghosts, to interact with them, and yet you were doing it without being aware this was something special. Would that be accurate?
I think so too.
Okay.
I'm very grateful to have it. I'm not the only person in my family who can see ghosts, though there are siblings who are able to see ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, my mom said, "Well, that's something that everybody has in this family. We're all a ghost family."
Well, you had the right idea with a ghost hunting group of your siblings then. All right. Dawn, I want to thank you for coming and for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Dan. I really appreciate it. It was good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. And if you should get onto a ghost hunting group, let me know when you got some more stories. We'll bring you on, okay? I want to get you back.
I will. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Take care. All right, folks. Can you imagine not being able to hear, and yet you can hear the ghosts? You can hear spirits talking to you. It has to be some kind of amazing feeling like that. And another amazing feeling while we're on the topic is to talk about subscribing to the UNX Network. Go to the unxnetwork.com, click over, join, go down the main page a little bit, and there's a way to join. It's free. And you know what you get out of it? A monthly UNX newsletter, access to the X blog, and there is a lot in the paranormal fields and the UFO fields that are being talked about. So you need to do that. And best of all, a free digital copy sent to you by email with the new magazine. I think the new one just came out. And these articles are by some of the best in their fields: UFOs, cryptids, ghosts. I wrote an article here a couple of months ago on the USS North Carolina and the ghosts that are remaining on that battleship. It's incredible what's going on out there, and you're missing out just for putting your email address on. So come on, join up with that. It's free, and it is so incredibly worth the few minutes it'll take. Hey, I also want to hit real quick, the 2023 XCon is going to be held in Blue Springs, Missouri in October 13th, 14th, and 15th. So all you friends of mine in Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri, this is your chance to get in there to Blue Springs, which is near Kansas City. And there is so much going to be going on here. We've got on Friday the 13th in October, I'll be speaking at 7:45 p.m. that night. We're going to be talking about ghosts of Missouri. I've got some of the most incredible evidence, and I'll probably throw in a little bit out of Alton and maybe a little out of Kansas too, because there is so much stuff in that area. And a lady named Michelle, hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Reese, is going to be talking about demonology. So there's one you don't want to miss. On Saturday, Bill Spicer is going to be discussing how to capture the fast-moving UFOs on film. And if that's what you're after, that's what you got to know. And Debbie Ziegelmeyer, who I believe is the head of MUFON out of Missouri, the Mutual UFO Network, she'll be talking. Sunday, we've got Scott Walter, and God, I want to hear this lecture so bad, about the Knights Templar and their alien connection. And I'm into the conspiracy history stuff anyway, so I'm really wanting to hear that one. And of course, Ronald Meyer is going to be there talking about the Bradshaw Ranch. This place makes Skinwalker Ranch look like a trip to Six Flags. It's so amazing what these people have gotten. So you need to check this out. Again, go to the unxnetwork.com, run over, go down a little bit. There's events, the XCon, pick up tickets, and this is the place you need to be. And one more quick reminder of Phenomenon Radio. It's Race Hobbs, my producer, who has the most amazing UFO information and friends and theories. A thought-provoking dive into the field of UFOs, and especially the Rendlesham Forest case. And if you are a UFO person of any kind, you understand the Rendlesham Forest and how important that is. So I'm going to go ahead and back out. Thanks for coming in. And I want you all to remember, stay spooked. Good night.